They sang about love, heartbreak, rebellion, but no song could prepare the world for the dark turns their lives would take. These 18 musicians didn't just fall from grace, their stories crashed into some of the most disturbing scandals ever recorded in music history. Some once stood under blinding stage lights. Now they stand before judges, serving sentences for crimes that shocked fans and shook the entire industry. From rap icons to rock trailblazers, these cases force us to question everything we think we know about fame, power, and downfall. Viewer discretion advised. What you're about to uncover is as real as it is unsettling. Number 1. Sean Diddy Combs. Sean John Combs, once the untouchable architect of bad boy glory, the fashion-forward mogul who ruled hip-hop's red carpets, is now living through the darkest chapter of his life. In May 2025, the man the world knows as Diddy sits behind the cold walls of the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, trapped in a legal storm that could end his freedom forever. Federal prosecutors have unveiled a chilling narrative. They accuse Diddy of running a secret criminal empire behind the glamorous facade of his music dynasty. According to investigators, the Bad Boy Records empire wasn't just a brand, it was allegedly a shield for years of racketeering, organized abuse, and unchecked power. Their case centers on a bombshell piece of evidence, a 2016 surveillance video, now in federal possession, appearing to show Diddy violently assaulting his longtime partner Cassie Ventura. Cassie, according to sources close to the prosecution, is expected to testify under oath about years of alleged intimidation, coercion, and psychological control, testimony that could become the emotional backbone of the trial. Jury selection began on May 5, 2025, with opening arguments scheduled for May 12. But even before the trial's first words are spoken, legal experts are sounding alarms. With high-profile witnesses disturbing evidence and sweeping federal charges stacked against him, the possibility of Diddy spending decades or the rest of his life in prison is becoming more realistic by the day. Despite fiercely declaring his innocence and calling the case a media-crafted witch hunt, Diddy Sep's once untouchable empire is collapsing. Hollywood insiders, industry veterans, and gossip circuits are all asking the same haunting question: how long can fame hide the truth, and what happens when the spotlight finally exposes everything lurking in the shadows? Number 2. VYBZ Cartel. Vybz Kartel, once the electrifying voice of Jamaican dancehall, a cultural force who reshaped the genre with raw lyricism and a magnetic, unpredictable persona, watched his meteoric rise crash into one of the most shocking criminal sagas the island has ever witnessed. His downfall began with the disappearance of Clive "Lizard" Williams, a man investigators claimed was caught in a deadly dispute over a missing firearm. According to authorities, Williams was allegedly lured to a house where tensions boiled over, and after that night he was never seen again. Suspicion pointed directly at Kartel, and in late 2011 he was arrested on a string of charges, from possession of contraband to unlicensed weapons. But those early accusations paled compared to what was coming. Even after being granted bail on lesser charges, he remained locked away as the far more serious murder allegations took center stage. His case became a national obsession, drawing intense media scrutiny and endless courtroom delays that stretched into years. Then came the historic 65-day trial, the longest in Jamaica's judicial record. In March 2014, after weeks of testimony, wiretaps, and explosive claims, a jury delivered a verdict that stunned the world: guilty. As of 2025, Vybz Kartel continues to serve a life sentence, with the possibility of parole in 2046. Yet even behind bars, his influence refuses to fade. He has released new music, granted rare interviews, and maintained unwavering claims of innocence. Millions of fans still believe he'll one day reclaim the throne, but the path back to freedom, fame, and the stage remains distant, shadowed, and uncertain. Number 3. Young QC. Young QC, A name that once floated around Chicago's underground scene is now remembered not for music, fame, or talent, but for one of the most chilling crimes in modern Hollywood-adjacent scandal history. Born Wayne Wilson, he never released a hit, never topped a chart, and never built a fan base. Yet he shattered the public with a story far darker than any rap lyric he ever posted online. By 2025, young QC remains behind bars, serving a staggering 99-year sentence for masterminding the murder of his own mother, Yolanda Holmes, a generous, hard-working salon owner who spent her life shielding him from danger and giving him every advantage she could. She spoiled him with love, money, cars, and comfort. But for him, it wasn't enough. Instead of gratitude, he craved instant wealth, and instead of effort, he chose violence. Prosecutors revealed that he hired an acquaintance to take his mother's life, a sloppy and senseless plan that left investigators with a direct trail pointing back to him. Then came the moment that stunned the nation: videos of young QC arrogantly throwing wads of stolen cash in the air, showering clout-chasing fans with the money taken from his dead mother's bank account. His lack of remorse became the defining image of the case. In the courtroom, he showed no emotion as he was sentenced to 99 years. The associate he hired received an even harsher punishment, 100 years. Where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments, and don't go anywhere. Suge Knight's brutal downfall is up next, and it's one of the darkest chapters in Hollywood crime history. Number 4, Tay-K. Tay-K, a name that once electrified the internet, now stands as one of the most dramatic cautionary tales in hip-hop. At just 22 years old, he has already spent more years behind prison walls than performing on stage, and his rise and fall story remains one of the most shocking in modern rap history. His breakout moment came in 2017 when the race exploded across social media and charged up the Billboard Hot 100. But the world didn't immediately realize the truth. Tay-K wasn't just dropping a hit song, he was dropping it while actively fleeing law enforcement. The track became an anthem of rebellion, but it also sealed his fate. His troubles began in 2016, when he and 6 accomplices were accused of planning a home invasion that turned deadly. He was placed on house arrest, but instead of facing trial, Tay cut off his ankle monitor, declared online that police would have to catch me in the hood, and vanished. During his 3 months as a fugitive, the situation only got darker. Authorities linked him to a lethal robbery outside a Texas Chick-fil-A and another violent attack on a 65-year-old man, who later identified him to police. Each incident added more weight to the case against him, transforming him from a rising rapper into a symbol of reckless defiance and squandered potential. When law enforcement finally captured him, his music career came to a screeching halt. In 2019, a jury convicted him, and he received a 55-year prison sentence. Tay-K won't be eligible for parole until he completes nearly 28 years, long after the world has moved on. Today, his once promising career exists only as a cautionary memory, a viral flame that burned too fast and too dangerously. His story echoes across Hollywood scandal circles as the ultimate reminder no amount of fame, hype, or viral success can outrun justice. Where are you watching from? Drop your country below, and stay tuned. Suge Knight's brutal downfall is coming up next, and it's one of the darkest twists in Hollywood crime history. Number 5, Suge Knight. Suge Knight. Few names send a louder shockwave through Hollywood gossip than his. The towering, fearsome architect of Death Row Records once ruled the 1990s rap scene with an iron fist, standing at the center of a musical revolution that reshaped the entire West Coast. He didn't just manage titans like Tupac Shakur, Dr. Dre, and Snoop Dogg. He engineered an era. The Chronic, Doggy Style, All Eyes on Me. These weren't just albums. They were cultural earthquakes that redefined hip-hop forever. But behind the multi-platinum success was a storm ready to erupt. Suge's explosive temper, intimidating persona, and dangerous alliances pushed him deeper into chaos. After Tupac's murder and Dr. Dre's dramatic exit, Death Row Records began to crumble. Power struggles, federal investigations, and Suge's mounting legal troubles dragged the empire into bankruptcy, turning the once unstoppable label into a cautionary tale. The breaking point came in 2015. During a tense confrontation on the streets of Compton, Suge sped his truck into two men, killing one and severely injuring the other. The incident sparked a long, chaotic legal battle that finally ended with Suge accepting a plea deal for voluntary manslaughter. His sentence 28 years behind bars. As of 2025, Suge Knight remains incarcerated, with his earliest shot at parole in July 2037, but with declining health, a trail of violence, and a legacy forever marked by brilliance and destruction, many believe the once mighty king of death row may never walk free again. Number 6. Casanova. Casanova, once a rising star basking in fame, flashing lights, and the powerful momentum of a promising rap career, is now facing a far darker fate. As of 2025, he remains behind bars, staring down the terrifying possibility of spending up to 60 years in federal prison. His downfall reads like a script ripped straight from the grittiest Hollywood scandal documentary. The trouble began in December 2020, when headlines erupted with the revelation that Casanova, born Caswell Sr., was connected to the untouchable guerrilla Stone Nation, a street organization infamous for its violent operations. Although he wasn't directly charged in a tragic incident involving a teenager, his alleged affiliation opened the floodgates to a sweeping federal investigation. And the deeper authorities dug, the worse things looked. Investigators tied Casanova to a robbery in New York and accused him of playing a key role in trafficking significant quantities of illegal substances. Then came the alleged Miami nightclub shooting involving a rival crew, an incident prosecutors pounced on after one of Casanova's own associates boasted about the encounter through text messages, practically handing investigators the evidence they needed. Throughout the storm, Casanova went online to proclaim his innocence, insisting he was being targeted, but the digital trail, the witness statements, and the federal charges painted a far harsher picture. Today, he sits in a federal facility, having already served more than 5 years as the slow wheels of justice continue to grind. His life in music is on pause, his once bright future shadowed by uncertainty. Whether Casanova will ever reclaim his place in the industry or walk out a free man remains a question only time can answer. Number 7. Young Thug. Young Thug, once the visionary behind genre-shifting anthems like Pick Up the Phone and Lifestyle, now finds himself trapped in one of the most explosive legal sagas hip-hop has ever seen. His rise was meteoric, his influence undeniable, but today the world is watching a very different chapter unfold, a superstar fighting for his freedom. In May 2022, Young Thug, born Jeffrey Williams, was swept up in a massive racketeering investigation that shook the industry to its core. Prosecutors linked him and members of YSL to an astonishing 56-count indictment, alleging a criminal operation that stretched back nearly a decade. One of the most damning pieces of evidence was a rented Infiniti vehicle authorities say was used in a violent attack connected to rival tensions. But things escalated even further. A dramatic raid on his Atlanta home uncovered multiple weapons and other items that led to additional charges. Overnight, Young Thug went from chart topper to the center of a national legal firestorm, with prosecutors insisting he wasn't just an artist, he was a key player in a sprawling criminal network. As of 2025, he remains behind bars, tangled in a trial that has dragged on through delays, courtroom outbursts, viral moments, and endless media scrutiny. The proceedings have become a spectacle, with celebrities, legal analysts, and fans debating whether the justice system is uncovering the truth or making an example out of one of hip-hop's most innovative talents. With the terrifying possibility of a 20-year-to-life sentence looming, Young Thug's future hangs by a thread, and the question that echoes across the music world remains, will one of rap's most creative minds ever return to the stage, or has his final act already been written? Number 8. R. Kelly. R. Kelly, once celebrated as the undisputed king of R&B, has now become one of the most disgraced and tragic figures in modern music history. His voice once ruled radio, his albums dominated charts, and his influence shaped an entire generation. But behind the curtain of fame was a growing storm that would eventually become one of Hollywood's darkest scandals. His troubles began long before the world fully understood their magnitude. In 1994, at age 28, he illegally married rising star Aaliyah, who was only 15. The marriage was annulled, but the warning signs were impossible to ignore. Still, his fame protected him. His hits soared, his tours sold out, and the industry looked the other way. Then, in 2002, a disturbing tape surfaced, igniting national outrage and triggering a high-profile legal battle. Although the case eventually collapsed due to insufficient evidence, it planted a permanent cloud of suspicion over Kelly's career. Everything shattered in 2017. Explosive reports accused him of running a secretive, abusive environment that many described as cult-like. As more women came forward with harrowing testimonies, public pressure mounted, demanding accountability. The music world watched in disbelief as decades of allegations finally converged into a single, unstoppable wave. The reckoning arrived in June 2022, when R. Kelly was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison after being found guilty of multiple charges involving manipulation, coercion, and abuse. As of May 2025, he is nearly 3 years into that sentence, with no realistic path to parole anytime soon. His musical legacy, once towering and influential, now lies buried beneath one of the most devastating downfalls the entertainment world has ever witnessed, a stark reminder that fame can obscure the truth, but it can't erase it forever. Number 9. YNW Melly. YNW Melly rose to fame with emotionally raw hits like Mixed Personalities, featuring Kanye West, and Suicidal with Juice WRLD, tracks that showcased his unique ability to blend vulnerability with melody. But while his music was climbing the charts, his real life was spiraling violently in the opposite direction. His troubles with the law started long before fame. In 2015, he served time on multiple assault charges. By 2017, probation violations put him back behind bars. And between 2018 and 2019, the situation escalated sharply as he faced arrests tied to illegal possessions, each incident adding more weight to his growing reputation for chaos. Then came the case that shocked the music world and changed his life forever. In October 2018, his two close friends and fellow artists, YNW Juvie and YNW Sackchaser, were fatally shot. In a stunning turn, investigators accused Melly of masterminding the killings and staging the scene to look like a drive-by attack. On February 13, 2019, he turned himself in, and the hip-hop community has been divided ever since. His legal saga only grew more bizarre. In late 2022, prison officials claimed Melly was allegedly involved in a secret escape plot, with suspicions even directed toward members of his own legal team, a revelation that sparked national headlines. As of May 2025, he remains incarcerated, awaiting the outcome of his highly anticipated retrial after a 2023 jury failed to reach a verdict. His fall from rising rap star to inmate has become one of the most jaw-dropping stories in Hollywood scandal coverage, a reminder that fame can amplify your dreams, but it can't erase your consequences. Do you think YNW Melly is guilty or framed? Number 10. Gunna. Gunna's rise was meteoric. Sold-out shows, chart-topping hits, and a fan base that saw him as one of hip-hop's smoothest, most stylish voices. But in 2022, everything changed overnight when authorities dropped a bombshell, a sweeping 56-count indictment against the alleged YSL organization. Among the 28 names listed, one shocked the industry more than most: Sergio Kitchens, the artist the world knew simply as Gunna. Though his charges were far lighter than those faced by Young Thug, the legal firestorm didn't spare him. Gunna was hit with a single conspiracy charge, accused of being loosely connected to illicit substances and stolen goods. Instead of running from the chaos, he walked straight toward it, voluntarily turning himself in, a move that surprised critics and earned respect from supporters. From behind bars on June 14, 2022, Gunna released a statement insisting he was innocent, claiming the case against him was driven by guilt through association rather than concrete evidence. Prosecutors, meanwhile, painted YSL as a coordinated criminal network, arguing that even minor players contributed to a larger operation. Denied bail and forced to remain in jail as the media frenzy grew, Gunna waited months for his day in court. Then, in late 2023, he accepted a plea deal, a decision that allowed him to walk free while maintaining he had admitted no wrongdoing and had no intention of testifying against anyone. But freedom came with a cost. His plea ignited fierce debates within hip-hop, sparking rumors, accusations, and endless speculation about what really unfolded behind closed doors. Gunna may be back home, but the controversy surrounding his release continues to shadow his every move. Number 11. Antron Singleton. Antron Singleton's story is so disturbing, so surreal, that it often sounds like something whispered in urban legend circles, but every piece of it is tragically real. In the mid-1990s, Singleton, better known in rap circles as Big Lurch, was carving out a space with his gritty, hardcore sound. Standing at a towering 6'7", he had a presence that demanded attention, but after his debut album failed to take off and a horrific car crash left him with a broken neck, his world began to unravel fast. Battling constant pain and emotional turmoil, Singleton turned to powerful, dangerous substances to cope. What followed was a terrifying descent into a drug-induced psychosis. During a prolonged binge, he reportedly went days without eating, slipping deeper into hallucinations, paranoia, and delusion. Then came the night that would shock the entire hip-hop community. Convinced that something evil was living inside his 21-year-old roommate, Singleton completely snapped. The crime scene that followed was so gruesome that even hardened investigators were shaken. When police found him, he was shirtless, dazed, and staring blankly at the sky, completely disconnected from reality. In November 2003, Big Lurch was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His insanity plea was rejected, with the court ruling that his voluntary drug use made him fully responsible for the horror that unfolded. As of 2025, Singleton remains incarcerated in California. His name has become synonymous with one of the darkest and most disturbing cases in hip-hop history, a chilling reminder of how quickly talent, trauma, and addiction can collide into tragedy. Number 12. C. Murder. The story of Corey Miller, the rapper the world knows as C. Murder, remains one of the most hotly debated cases in hip-hop history. 2 decades after his conviction, the controversy surrounding his name refuses to fade. Once an emerging force in the early 2000s rap scene, and the brother of rap mogul Master P, C. Murder is now serving a life sentence for a crime he has always insisted he did not commit. The tragedy took place in 2002 at a crowded Louisiana nightclub, where 16-year-old fan Steve Thomas was fatally shot after a confrontation spiraled out of control. What allegedly began as a minor bump between Thomas and someone in C. Murder's entourage turned into chaos. Moments later, gunfire erupted, and the teen lost his life. In 2003, C. Murder was arrested and later convicted, but from the very beginning the case was clouded with doubts. Over the years, those doubts only grew. 2 key witnesses eventually recanted their testimonies, claiming they had been pressured by law enforcement to identify Miller as the shooter. One of them, security guard Darnell Jordan, even admitted he was detained until he agreed to cooperate, a revelation that shook the foundation of the original verdict. The case burst back into the national spotlight in 2020 when media icon Kim Kardashian joined the fight for Miller's release, citing major inconsistencies, alleged misconduct, and a lack of solid evidence. Her involvement reignited public debate and brought fresh scrutiny to the long-buried details of the trial. Yet despite high-profile support and mounting concerns, C. Murder remains behind bars as of 2025, waiting for the courts to revisit his case. Unless new evidence emerges or another suspect is identified, his battle for freedom remains painfully stalled. His story continues to dominate Hollywood gossip, a haunting blend of fame, tragedy, and unanswered questions. Do you believe C. Murder is innocent? Type yes if you think he was wrongfully convicted, or no if you believe justice was served. Number 13. Max B. Max B, the Harlem Wave creator with the unmistakable melodic flow, was once considered one of the most influential underground voices on the East Coast. His hooks were addictive, his swagger effortless, and his impact undeniable. But in 2009, his career crashed in one of hip-hop's most shocking downfalls when he was sentenced to 75 years in prison for his role in a 2006 robbery that spiraled into tragedy. The charges were heavy: conspiracy, armed assault, and kidnapping. For years, it seemed Max B would never see the outside world again. Fans mourned the loss of a rising legend, believing the Silver Surfer had been swallowed by the justice system forever. But then came an unexpected twist, one that shook the hip-hop community. Behind closed doors, his decades-long sentence was quietly reduced. No full explanation was ever given, but Max B himself later announced the staggering drop from 75 years to just 12. In April 2023, longtime friend and collaborator French Montana confirmed via Twitter that Max B had officially been released. Just like that, the man many assumed was gone for good stepped back into the world and back into the booth. Now in 2025, Max B is reclaiming his place in the rap landscape at his own pace. He's been spotted in the studio, teasing new tracks, making understated but powerful public appearances, and sparking waves across Hollywood gossip, hip-hop forums, and social media. His story is a sharp reminder: talent can take you far, but one reckless decision can destroy everything. Yet Max B is one of the rare few who got a second chance, and the world is watching closely to see how he uses it. Number 14. 50 Cent. 50 Cent wasn't just a rising rapper, he was a phenomenon in the making. When Get Rich or Die Tryin' dropped, he became the face of early 2000s hip-hop, razor-sharp flow, sculpted physique, and a confidence so unshakable it felt untouchable. But behind the swagger was a man who had already survived the kind of moment that would have ended most careers and most lives. On May 24, 2000, everything changed. Outside his grandmother's home in Queens, 50 Cent was ambushed and shot 9 times at close range. The attack shattered more than bone, his face subtly transformed, a swollen jawline, fuller lips, and eyes that now carried the weight of near death. Even his voice shifted, gaining a deeper, slower tone marked by the grit of survival. Yet instead of breaking him, the trauma became the fire that forged his legend. The pain became purpose. The scars became symbols, and the man the world once knew as a street-hardened up-and-comer rose as a warrior who refused to fade. He didn't just return, he dominated. His transformation, both physical and spiritual, remains one of the most dramatic in music history. 50 Cent turned a moment, meant to silence him, into the anthem of a lifetime, redefining resilience for an entire generation. Number 15. Nen Leakes. Nen Leakes may be a reality TV powerhouse today, but long before fame, she faced a legal chapter that rarely makes the spotlight. At around 25 years old in 1992, Nen, born Lynethia Monique Johnson, was arrested in Georgia and hit with 1 misdemeanor and 3 felony charges for theft of services involving a phone company. It was a shocking moment that could have derailed her future before it even began. Nen later admitted to the arrest, describing it as a painful mistake made during her struggles as a young single mother trying to survive. Though the case was eventually resolved, the charges left a stain that followed her for years, a reminder that even the biggest stars often rise from complicated, imperfect beginnings. Number 16. Cardi B. Cardi B may be known for her bold transformations and superstar glow-up, but behind the fame lies a legal chapter that shook headlines. In 2018, during a heated incident at a strip club in Queens, New York, she was accused of orchestrating an attack on 2 employees. The case followed her for years, resurfacing again and again in Hollywood scandal circles. On September 15, 2022, Cardi B accepted a plea deal, admitting guilt to 2 charges: third-degree assault and second-degree reckless endangerment. Instead of jail time, she was sentenced to 15 days of community service, required to complete it without excuses. The court also issued a 3-year restraining order protecting the 2 victims, along with mandatory court fees. It was a rare moment where one of music's biggest stars had to face real-world consequences, and she walked away humbled, accountable, and fully aware the world was watching. Number 17. Kanye West. Kanye West's journey from hungry producer to global icon almost ended before it began. In October 2002, everything changed when he fell asleep at the wheel and crashed head-on into oncoming traffic, a collision so brutal it shattered his jaw and nearly claimed his life. Surgeons rebuilt his face with metal plates and bone grafts, leaving him permanently altered, a subtly uneven jaw, a reshaped mouth, and scars that would follow him into fame. But instead of stopping him, the trauma sparked a transformation. While his jaw was still wired shut, he recorded Through the Wire, the song that would launch him into superstardom. It was the birth of a new Kanye, raw, fearless, and unstoppable. Yet his path wasn't without chaos. In 2013, at Los Angeles International Airport, Kanye was involved in a confrontation with a photographer. The fallout landed him an unusual sentence: 1 day in county jail, 250 hours of community service, mandatory anger management classes, and 2 years of probation. He only spent a single day behind bars, but the headlines were explosive. Another dramatic chapter in the life of one of music's most controversial legends. Number 18. Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson wasn't just a global icon, he was a cultural force who reshaped music, dance, and stardom itself. But behind the dazzling performances and legendary albums was a man battling medical struggles and some of the most explosive accusations in entertainment history. By the late 1980s, vitiligo and lupus quietly began altering his appearance. His skin lightened, his features changed, and rumors filled the silence. While Michael insisted his transformation was driven by illness, tabloids and Hollywood gossip painted a far harsher picture. And then came the accusations. In 1993, a 13-year-old boy accused him of misconduct. The case never reached criminal court. It ended in a civil settlement, reportedly worth $23 million after the accuser refused to testify. A decade later, in 2005, the world watched as Michael faced the biggest trial of his life. 10 criminal charges ranging from misconduct to conspiracy and providing alcohol to a minor. After a 4-month courtroom spectacle, the jury delivered its verdict on June 13, 2005, not guilty on all counts. Michael Jackson never went to prison, but he was dragged through some of the most intense legal battles any superstar has ever faced. Wild, isn't it? Even the king of pop wasn't spared from the chaos of fame and accusations. And that brings us to the end of 18 stories. 18 shattered legacies that remind us how quickly the line between idol and inmate can vanish. Fame can lift a star higher than anyone imagined, but in a single night it can also expose every flaw, every secret, and every mistake. Which downfall shocked you the most? And do you believe any of these musicians deserve a second chance at redemption? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. Your voice adds depth to these conversations. If you found this video eye-opening, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. We've got more untold stories, dark truths, and jaw-dropping celebrity revelations coming soon.